Hi, it's Duncan, the Let's Test roving reporter. I'm here with Tim Coulter, who's doing a presentation at Tasting Let's Test down in Oz. Hi, Tim. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. The weather's getting a bit warmer here, so that's what I've signed up for.
Awesome. Okay.
Wicked. How's life for you? Busy?
It's good. Yeah. No. I can't wait for tasting last test. I go to Australia actually in 2 weeks. I'll be there for 2 weeks. Actually, I go in 3 weeks and I'll be there for 2 weeks. So I'm gonna get a whole lot of Australia while I'm there. I'm excited.
I love it. You can do some touring, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Mostly in Queensland, but yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, we did a short spell out there. Wasn't long enough. We need to go back over, so I'm hoping to go over for Let's Test Oz next year.
Yeah.
Should be quite a
Yeah.
good lure if I can get the provide enough evidence for the boss to send me over.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Fantastic. Right. Okay. So I was reading up on your bio on the Let's Test tasting website, and it says that you've spent the last 6 years hopping around startups and building each startup's testing function. How did you get into that? And was there any life before being a startup?
Well, I mean, to be very honest, life before startup was college. So I went to college at Florida Tech, where I studied under Cem Kaner. He was a teacher there, and eventually became his research assistant, and then a teaching assistant. I spent a lot of time with him,
Oh,
both in and out of college, conferences and whatnot. And so afterwards, I'd done the applying at Microsoft and Google and everything, on the West Coast. But a friend had told me to check out New York City. So I don't know what got into me, but I went on Craigslist and looked at the jobs in New York and applied to a couple, and then before I knew it, one flew me out, and I got hired. And so they were a small nonprofit startup like company. And then I got more into startups from there, as most of the available jobs for what I wanted to do just were startups, and that's what I was attracted to.
fantastic. So were they aware of Kem and the work he was doing at Florida Tech? Was that a draw for them?
Actually, to be honest, I haven't found a lot of people in New York who are aware of the testing community and what the content-driven testing community is doing. So, unfortunately, I don't think that was a draw for them, but I do think that when I would talk to them about testing, that I came off as knowing what I was talking about, and had a lot of time thinking about it. And I don't know if, at least in my experience, though it's limited to startups, if a lot of people in the startup world actually know that much about testing, or have spent a lot of time with it. I'm not trying to talk myself up. I think it's harder to find a QA engineer for a startup than it is for a developer. That just seems to be the way it is.
Well, I guess testers have that misconception that we're there as a blocker or a hold up, aren't we? We're there to stop the code, whereas the programmers are trying to get it out the door as quick as possible.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So just trying to get that different message across.
Yeah.
So was that daunting then, going from being like a graduate to straight into a startup where you're a sole tester? So I know for me, I dropped into several teams, obviously, which was full of other testers, so I was learning from them
Yeah.
as I was going along. Whereas you just dropped in on your own. That must have been quite daunting.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit. I mean, especially early on, I didn't know exactly what I was doing. What kind of did it for me is I have development skills as well, and I actually, at the first company, this nonprofit startup, I started out as a developer, but they had promised me that I would be going into testing. So I started as a developer and got to know everybody and whatever, and it was fine. And then kind of got into testing, but after a year and a half, I didn't. It didn't. I wasn't doing as much testing as I wanted to at the company. So I eventually left for another one, and that's when I became the sole tester for the first time at a startup, and that was tough. Took a lot of learning. I think I did some things wrong. Learned a ton on the way, and since then I've moved jobs a fair number of times. Bringing what I've learned in each one to the next one. And finally, I think I figured it out. But yeah, to answer your question directly, yeah, it was daunting. I can't say I knew what I was doing originally.
Yeah, because I was tying your bio up with a slide that Johanna Rothman did at Let's Test this year in her keynote, and she was applying the different focuses of testing against the law of diffusion of innovation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have the curve, and then you have the chasm where you move from the kind of the early adopters into the more mainstream. And I just
Right.
looking into mainly is your focus kind of being at the left hand side of the curve, just trying to get stuff out and get fast feedback and put it out there and see what people actually think of it.
Yeah. I mean, things change so quickly at startups that you have to give them their fast feedback. And sometimes, and actually that's sometimes one of the most frustrating things. You don't have all the time in the world to do as much testing as you want.
Yeah,
There's also the problem where where I found is a lot of development managers in these startups probably are young themselves, and they may not understand how to lead a testing team, and so or to manage a tester. And if you're the sole tester, you're kind of working under somebody. So uh, shoot. So I mean, crap, I lost where I was going. It was tough. Can you remind me? Say what you said one more time.
So yeah, so talk about the law of diffusion of innovation. And on the left-hand side of the curve, you're looking at early adopters. And so Johanna Rothman had the focus of testing was kind of quick releases, fast feedback. Whereas down the other end of the curve, where you've got you're trying to keep the people, it's all about steady releases and quality and a few bugs leaking out.
Right. That's sorry. That's what I was going to. Yeah. A lot of the time, especially in my first, year and a half at each startup, it's always about the quick feedback. When it's weird, it's when it gets to the point of like steady releases, that's almost the time where you see a big shift in the culture of the company.
Right.
And that's just happened to be kind of where I leave and go to the next one. It's not that I tried to do that. That's just kind of how it ended up.
Yeah, like the thrill of the chase, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, there is something in that. I mean, I've been in a few companies where I've been helped setting up new projects. So it's been within the same company, but you're setting up a project from scratch and all the testing, the approach that needs to go into that.
Yeah.
There is something about the adrenaline, isn't it? Of getting that ball rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, and this is some kind of where I was going a little bit before. The other side of that is like I mentioned, oftentimes I don't have enough time to do the testing I wanted to do. I just couldn't choose the schedule, right?
Yeah.
They said we want to release soon, and you have a day and a half to do what you want. And it's like, all right, well, you do what you can, and then tell them you have or haven't found anything, and they go from there. So.
Cool. And so going on from that, then I guess you've been a sole tester and an integrated tester in a development team.
Yeah.
Have you ever, I guess you've never been on an independent test team? I guess as a startup, you've always been closely interwoven with developers.
No, yeah, I've kind of wanted to be on an independent test team as a member of an independent test team, but it's just never happened that the jobs that I've chosen have those. Sole tester, yeah, sole tester and integrated tester is hard in the startups because like defining those two terms because you have companies that are, 15 people or 20 people, like everybody is talking to each other. There's almost like teams aren't really set yet. You're just kind of getting the work done. And so sometimes the only difference for me, it felt like I was a sole tester when I was completely ignored by the company, and I was an integrated tester when I felt like I was part of the team, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But in all cases for me, I've had to have a lot of development experience because a lot of the startups focused on kind of the agile craze, and they want you to do not only manual testing, but they want you to do automated testing and all this, and it's very important to their testing strategy, which you kind of have to go in there and mold yourself, but they have an idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So yeah, I haven't been on an independent test team, but besides that, I was the only person, except for one case where I actually hired somebody to work with me. I was the only person focused on testing as their full-time job.
Cool. Right. So if you were writing the automation as well as doing the manual kind of exploratory stuff, did you have any kind of conflict of interest? Did you ever find yourself going down too far down like the developer route and having that intentional blindness and just testing the happy path? Or was it that your testing cycle was so fast it was you didn't have a chance to kind of get that down that route?
The way that I would always tell the companies that I wanted to do automation, when I would do automation was I would do it. I would test something by hand until it got annoying, and then I would automate it.
Yeah.
That's my, not perfect. That's my dream, situation. But oftentimes they kind of told me what they wanted me to automate, and sometimes you can't really argue with that. So I do find that what the automation that we've created, a lot of it is happy path stuff. Some of it I might feel is overly automated. Meaning we spend too much time on the framework or too much time on automation, where I think we get better value out of manually doing stuff. But it's really like on a case by case basis, and between like I've switched frameworks and switched languages between each job. I've almost haven't used the same tool twice.
Oh wow.
Right now I'm on iOS stuff, and that's in Xcode, and they're all that's a completely different environment than where I was at before. So
keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
Wicked. So I made a booby. So my research, I didn't realize the Florida Tech. I thought you just done the BBST when you said you're a graduate of Cem Kaner. So you studied under Cem for how many years was that?
I can't remember when my first course for Cem was, but I know I became his research assistant, or I believe I met Cem my sophomore year, so second year of college. So for 3 years I was a research assistant or a teaching assistant with him, and then I also took special courses. So at Florida Tech, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Florida Tech, is when I was in high school, I had an idea that software engineering was different from computer science. It seemed to me that software engineering was, the example I would use to tell people was like, engineers would build a building, but physicists or something would build a better brick or something. And to me that helped. I don't know if that's true, but it helped make me decide that I wanted to do software engineering. Well, what that did at Florida Tech was the differentiation is software engineers have to take mandatory software testing courses. Well, Cem was there. Cem was teaching the software testing courses. I was a student, and then somehow he put out the opportunity to some of us to be a teaching assistant. It all went from there. So before college, I had gone to context-driven testing peer workshops, maybe a dozen of them before I graduated. I'd spoken at CAST before that. I've been to every CAST so far except one. I may not be able to get to this one, unfortunately, but and I guess, to be very honest, I owe a lot of my career right now to Cem. Just being able to get this kind of attention that I don't think many students get. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it certainly does. I'm kind of jealous because it's a great crowd to be running around with, isn't it? So you've got the likes of Cem, Doug Hoffman, James Back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I met all of those guys sophomore year of college.
What about? I never had that kind of inspiration at university for me. So university kind of was, let's just go and get a piece of paper.
Right.
I can imagine if you've got those inspirational kind of people just sort of like talking and motivating you without like trying, because they're passionate about the craft. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to nail this sucker.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was exciting. And I wanted to work for it. Absolutely. You know.
Yeah. And so how did the internship go with Scott Barber? That must have been a wild ride.
Yeah, it was interesting. Well, so I did some. It turns out it wasn't exactly all testing. I actually did some development work for him um, early on, but afterwards it became more of helping him with speaking at conferences and helping him out there. To be honest, it was partly an internship and partly an extension of another person wanting to inspire me to become a tester. No lie. I mean, this whole group, when you talk about James Bach, Scott Barber, Cem Kaner, Michael Bolton, all these people, Scott wanted to help my career. So he's like, all right, you can um, be my intern. So, it would just run the gamut of all these different things. Sometimes helping a test, but a lot of the time, just helping him with conferences and being a part of it.
Fantastic. Yeah. Again, jealous.
It was
That's it.
fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet as well. And down in Florida as well, was it?
Yeah, yeah, still in Florida.
Fantastic. Okay, so moving into now then, do you want to talk to us a bit about NoteApp?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked, by the way. NoteApp. So I've had I noticed a couple years ago that I was having trouble taking notes. Now, I don't know if you've done this, but um, I would put like notes in my phone. I would write notes on little slips of paper that I would lose. I would write notes in the notebook, all this stuff. It was all like all over the place and unorganized. And, I realized I needed something different. So I built I'm not going to try to talk it up too much, but I built what was basically a visual corkboard. Started out, that NoteApp was originally called corkboard.me, mostly because corkboard.com was taken. But, it was just a visual tool to help me kind of organize my life, and since then has taken off, and people have decided they started to pay for it. So I've been making it a real business, side business ever since.
Cool.
So over the last 2 years, it's grown from a free application that was just a fun project to give me something to do on my spare time, to being an actual source of revenue, making profit that will hopefully very soon be my sole job. So it will be a startup that I own. It's all self-funded. It's not. I haven't even looked for any like VC funding or something. But it's been a great experience for me because there's a whole lot of entrepreneurship and learning that I've gotten along the way. So just if it doesn't come out that I make money off of this thing, it's been amazing for me.
I guess yeah, it's not just the development and testing of it, is it? There's the whole driving the business as well, and sort of
Oh yeah,
getting it out there.
yeah. This is there's something about creating the business which is exciting for me. Being able to take it, make something that some people want, and then figure out how to sell it to them where everybody's happy. I mean, because customers understand that if you're going to make this product, that you have to survive as well, right?
Yeah.
So they're willing to pay, but you have to figure out what that special, the words that are coming to mind is special sauce is, this magical thing where you get them to love it. So, I'm going off into a tangent, I think, but, it's been a really fun time for me.
Cool. Yeah. So because me and David, we used it a few years ago on a Miyagi Do assignment, and we just
Yeah.
we needed to collaborate, and we found CallboardMe, and it was great.
Do you know how you found it?
Uh, I don't know if someone suggested it to me via Twitter,
Yeah.
or someone had I can't remember how we got to finding it. But it was perfect. It was so simple to set up, wasn't it? It's just a kind of, here's a URL, share this URL with anyone that you want to work on the board with.
Absolutely. It's a little bit harder now because I'm trying to make people pay for it, so they don't get free.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately is that was a hard decision to make, to not offer a free version, but it has been better for me financially to eventually to get me much closer to that point where I need to be to work on it full time. And if I can work on it full time, everybody's happier. I'm happier. Customers are happier.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a tough decision. But yeah, no, the collaboration part of it is really the selling point. And to be very honest, that was something that people asked for. There was that collaboration element wasn't there in the beginning, and they're like, "Well, I'd love it if it updates automatically." So I figured out how to do that, and it went from there.
Fantastic. So yeah, we didn't do anything kind of security conscious in it. But I was just wondering, did you have any hurdles to overcome with that?
Well, I hate to say I haven't been hacked yet. I don't want to invite anybody
Touch wood. Yeah.
to come do that. I feel like I'm security conscious about everything that's going on. I mean, from the beginning, even though there were free boards, I did my best that if you were to share, not share the board, but for a while there was a view only option where it was free,
Right.
and you could share the view only option. I did everything I could that nobody could figure out what actual board this was, so they can just go to the link that was completely open and edit it.
Yeah.
But and I haven't. There's tons of security concerns along the way that you learn during development. But I can't say that anything has come up.
So you've not had any feedback from anyone saying, "What about this?"
Oh, like it being insecure? I mean, as far as I know, we're using all the. Oh, by the way, to make the company sound bigger, I oftentimes say we. When in fact it's just me. But I've had a lot of feedback about. So at one point I wasn't using HTTPS for the free version because when I got the pro version, I'm like, yeah, they can pay for that. But then that became too much. Everything's HTTPS, like over secure connection.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, I'm doing everything industry standard to be secure, from securing, not securing. Let me put that differently. Hashing all the passwords, and so there's no way that anybody can get them, and all the data is on secured computers and all that stuff. So there hasn't been a big deal so far, but I'm doing everything I can.
Wicked. And are you tying it in with any other kind of third parties like the Dropbox or Evernote or anything like that?
That was part of the original idea. I haven't actually done that yet. There's so much work when you're self-funding your own startup and doing all the work by yourself. And I mean all of it, not just development, but marketing and figuring out the business side of it. I mean, I had to figure out how to get a tax identification number,
Right.
In the U.S., all this stuff. Everything goes much more slowly. And so I've had big ideas of integrating with Dropbox and Evernote, but they just haven't been on the top of the list.
Yeah.
There's been all this other stuff. Right now, I'm trying to move the product over to something that's more attractive, less to personal users and more to business users that use it with a team, because that vertical for now is going to be the one where that'll get corkboard 100% profitable. So and be able to support me 100%. So I mean, so that's what I'm working now. And so all those things involved in that, just and a lot of them are the mundane stuff, not features like integrating. Like I'd love to add integration with other partners, but it's features like building the framework to have pricing plans and billing and making sure people get billed correctly and all that stuff. So it's a lot of work, but I hope to, if that answers your question.
No, it certainly does. So what's next for NoteApp? What can we look forward to?
Well, I'm gonna get more plans very soon that that do actually get other people involved. So if people are worried about say the price right now, they can go to a personal plan, and that's more just to step them up to the plan where they eventually use it for a team. Beyond that, I am working on a iPhone app, which is actually much needed. That was one of the first things I asked for maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
For a while, I didn't feel like I could build it on my own, and here I am doing it. So hopefully that'll come out within the next couple months.
That's fantastic. So your roles that you're working in to make the money is helping in your private kind of what do you call it? Your private project.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wicked.
Yeah, it's great. I really hope this becomes my own company. Hopefully if things work out, if things keep going where they're going to go, it'll be maybe the next 6 or 8 months.
Oh, fantastic! And that's nothing, I guess, in the lifespan of Coulter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so moving on to Let's Test. You're doing a session tasting Let's Test.
Yep.
And you're hoping to talk about debunking some of the myths about agile testing.
Yeah, well, a lot of people think agile is, or when people say agile, I've heard it called capital A agile, right? They think that only means automated testing, or that people go for 100% automation and 100% coverage. And I would be lying if I said I didn't see people that thought exactly that. But the debunking the myth is that it's all like that in startups and in companies that have taken this agile craze or wave, I guess. They even though they push for things like 100% automation, or actually I shouldn't say 100% automation, but they push for a lot of automation and they like coverage metrics. They understand the value of manual testing and where it fits within the company. And so, yeah, I think that answers it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So when I joined my first agile gig, the team was XP, and they were all into pair programming and test-driven development. And I found it really hard to find where a tester like me would fit into a team like that. And they were having coaching for their code, so they were having coding dojos and whatnot. So they would bang into their craft, and I'd have time out with the coach, have a cup of coffee with him, and he would say, right, as a tester, you really can add value like further upstream as well. So whereas before we'd be like looking at requirement specifications and functional specifications, he was like saying you need to be in a huddle with a programmer and the business analyst or the business stakeholder, whoever's asking for the feature, so you can start asking the questions there and then rather than waiting for stuff to be written. And I thought that was fantastic. And for me, coming from a kind of traditional testing background, which I was getting a bit tired of, to be honest, just the kind of same 6 weeks of paperwork, and then you pick up some code and then you chuck it back over the wall and you wait again. This was really enlightening and really like refreshing. So like we talk about some code, we write some code, we test some code, and we push it out the door. And it was just fantastic. And have you had something similar in the startups where, hang on, why have we got you a tester?
I don't know if somebody has asked me that question directly, but everything you explained is really my ideal situation. I'm sometimes I can imagine if you were to tell me that a few years ago, I'd be jealous of what was going on, because oftentimes instead of getting upstream, which is where I wanted to go, and I wanted to help evaluate those things, I was pushed downstream. Whereas maybe that question that you said was left unsaid, and they really pushed my job into just focusing on automation or something very pretty silly for what I thought I was trained to do. Yeah. So no, that was always what I was pushing for. So I was always telling stakeholders that get me into the planning meetings, get me into what code we're talking about. And I found that to be kind of a constant struggle, but usually in the end was the best thing.
Cool. And I guess you've got the advantage as well of being able to speak their language, pardon the pun. So for me, coming from a manual testing background,
Sure.
to be dropped into an agile XP shop, uh, I found it so beneficial to be able to speak their language. So it was a Java shop, so I just taught myself Java with their help, and I was going on like different code academies and different kind of courses there just to try and learn it. And once I could start understanding the code a little bit and start conversing with them in at their level, I ended up getting so much more respect, and we ended up like isolating bugs together and then
Oh,
fixing bugs together. It was really cool by the end. I really enjoyed it.
absolutely. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier, my current job, I've gone from, or I went from, wherever I was before to doing iOS stuff and with Xcode and all that. And I hadn't done that before. I'd never built an iOS app. It's once I started just getting my hands dirty and getting into it, I was able to figure out what these errors were and tell them like, oh yeah, it's the equivalent of a null pointer exception or something. I mean, that's what you call it in Java, but so and from there we were able to talk specifically about what was going on in the iPad and what the code was doing and libraries and all this stuff, and that made communication so much easier.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? You end up just having that different kind of camaraderie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially and that's a big thing. I mean, when you're the sole tester and you feel like this was always a kind of a little bit of a problem, especially in my younger years. When you don't feel like you're part of the team, it sucks.
Oh, fuck yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So do you have any kind of sneak peeks for your session coming up for Tasting Let's Test?
Well, in New York, I've worked at 5 different startups. I'm going to be going back to New York in 5 days, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to not only tell you about these startup or about the talk and my experience working at these startups, but I'm going to kind of bring you through my experience through pictures. And so I've taken up photography as a hobby fairly recently, and so I'm going to go back to all my old stomping grounds and take pictures of where those were, and kind of give you an idea of what things felt like, because New York is a totally different beast, and it's and I want to make my talk, not just PowerPoint, right?
Of course, yeah, yeah.
So beyond that, I'm still the specific points. I'm gonna I still need to finish my talk to be ready for it, but you can expect to hear all about my experience with each startups, and it was so completely different. Each one was completely different from the other. Some were amazing, some were horrible, and I wanted to get out as quickly as possible. But in all cases, I would tell that from the testing perspective, and maybe what I would do differently, what I liked, what I would do differently, and then probably what I would do now if I were in that same position.
Cool. That sounds good. It's a shame it's a bit short notice for me. I can't make it.
What's that?
As you say, it's a bit short notice for me. I won't be able to make it.
Oh, that's too bad.
I know. But I'm taking advantage of speaking to the speakers and the presenters to get the inside track.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. So was there anything else you'd want to cover, Tim?
No, I think this is great. Thank you.
Oh, no worries. The pleasure's all mine. I appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday for us.
Absolutely.
All right, Tim. Well, if you haven't got anything more, I'll hang up.
Okay.
And I look forward to hearing the blogs and the tweets that come out from your session from Tasting Let's Test.
Yeah, definitely. When this is online, if you could send it to me, that'd be great.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you'll get the honorary mention on Twitter.
Great. And hopefully I didn't send you too much or give you too many problems with the editing that you might have to do. But
I know that's the fun part.
Great.
Okay. Nice one. Cheers, Tim. I'm gonna catch you later.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye bye.